it is true that if, in fact, diplomacy fails, what I've asked my team to do is to look at all options. What other means can we put in place to change Mr. Putin's calculus? And the possibility of lethal defensive weapons is one of those options that's being examined.
Out of all the various despots, dictators, and destructors currently leading a nation here on earth, Vladimir Putin remains at once the most fascinating and perhaps the most feared. Not in the sense of truly cowering at what he brings to the global table, but being cautious that at any moment you might expect him to go from a three-piece suit to a demolition derby fire suit with a nuclear weapon in one hand and a slingshot in the other. We'll give you a moment to consider the visual. Welcome back to MidPoint. Our intelligence expert and former CIA analyst Lisa Ruth joins us here in studio. Missile, slingshot.
I like it.
I don't know why, but it just fits. The president and Angela Merkel come out and they make their statement, their joint statements yesterday, and these are the words that caught me from the president. If diplomacy fails. If diplomacy fails. How much more do we need, Lisa, before we finally understand that diplomacy is useless with this guy?
There's so much about it. You're exactly right. In that one sentence, there's so much. If diplomacy fails again, and again,
yep.
and again. Well, as you said, we already know that there's not a whole lot of diplomatic room here. And I also think you have to look at the actual weapons issue. I mean, we're saying that that's going to change the calculus, change his being Putin's views. It's obviously, I'm having trouble even articulating. It's mind-blowing to me.
Let's just say here for giggles and grins that the president comes out and says this because he knows he has to say something, and like any other president or politician, he can't tell us everything. Can't do it. Got to give us something just to feed the pablum masses here. What possibly could be going on behind the scenes? Do we have any indication of anything going on that something may be doing some good or that something's in the works to slow this guy down?
What I'm hearing from my people is Putin has made it very, very clear. And one of the interesting things that people are telling me has come out of these meetings is Putin has, for the first time, behind the scenes, basically said, yeah, I can stop this if I want. It's the first time that this has happened. Now, again, what a shocker. But behind the scenes, the question right now, and I think this is what is going on, is somebody saying to Putin, what do you want? You know, what do you want? Because
I want Ukraine.
And that's the problem is, short of that, I want sanctions off. I mean, he does want sanctions off, but is that enough to make him change his mind? I don't think so. We're not seeing that. So the diplomatic solution would have to come of just exactly what you're saying. How much of the Ukraine are you willing to give up, to walk away? Otherwise, I can't see anything that's going to change this. And I don't think the weapons are going to change this.
It would seem to be that there's a couple of choices here. Appeasement, which means basically, as with any negotiation with one of these dictators, you have to make it so that he feels like, and to his people, it looks like he's won. Mm-hmm. Got to come out a winner.
Right.
World War? Always
That's
a
an
possibility.
option.
Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Let's stop. What happens if we went back to the Cold War style? And I'm not saying that that's the smartest thing to do. But shut them out, lock them out, do something here. Maybe we need to go back to that sort of an ideal.
Well, I mean, essentially, that's what
maybe
we're
it's the
wrapping
safest
up.
thing to do.
And we are. I think you're right. I think, but that's sort of where we've all come to, because honestly, yeah, we could have World War, but that's not anybody who wants that. So that's off the table. Giving up. If we walk away from the Ukraine, like we did with Georgia, frankly, then we're saying, okay, here's open the gates to the rest of Europe or anywhere else you want. We can't do that. So what we are doing is this idea: we're not gonna let you play in our G8 groupings. We're going to put sanctions on. We're going to force you, even though Russia is going to continue to find markets, which they are in Africa, in Asia, and now it looks like in the Middle East through Egypt. But we are going to make it harder for you. We are going to force you to play outside. We're not going to be nice anymore. And that is what's happening. In retaliation, though, we have to be ready. That means Russia's going to do the same thing with us and their allies, and we're going to start to see this alignment, this much more bilateral alignment.
30 seconds before we take a break, though. Isn't it fair to say that unless someone puts weapons in the hands of the Ukraine, good weapons, thousands more are going to die?
I think if you do put weapons in the hands of Ukraine, we're going to have more die. I think we're in a situation right now where there is no good answer in terms of Ukraine.
So either way, even if we do arm them, well, if we do arm them, certainly, but at least wouldn't it be defensive, give them a fighting chance?
Absolutely, but again, I think we're in a situation right now where the only way to stop this really ramping up in the death toll is to get everybody to pull out. Chances of that, I'm going to go with 0.
Chances of that is 0 right now, unless, of course, you make him seem like he's won and give him something. All right. Breaking back, we're going to head for the Middle East. ISIS takes marketing to a new level, and Assad continues his cat-and-mouse laughing game with the West. And why is it we're always talking about dictators and despots basically laughing at the West? Also, some tragic news today for an American family. That and so much more coming up when MidPoint continues. All right, back to the intelligence briefing. Let's welcome back former CIA analyst Lisa Ruth, who joins us here in studio. Kind of putting a capper on everything here with Putin right now. He's cozying up to Egypt right now. He takes Sisi a Kalashnikov, gives him a brand new weapon and hands it to him and says, "Thank you." There's a lot of weapons. That's what Egypt's buying $3.5 billion in weapons, last billion from Russia. What are we supposed to take out of this, and how dangerous is this to the United States?
I think it is an interesting thing looking at the U.S. and as you and I were talking off air, where the United States has become stronger in the last few years, and Egypt is not one of those places. I couldn't even come up with a place. But relations between the U.S. and Egypt have historically been very close, and of course with Israel, we used Egypt to provide leverage and to really work the region for the U.S. and for Israel. That has gone way by the wayside with Morsi, and Sisi really doesn't trust us at all because of the Muslim Brotherhood. What Putin has done is what Putin always does. He sees an opening, or his advisors see an opening, a little small crack, and he moves in. And we are seeing him in Egypt now. I think we're going to see that expand throughout the Middle East, places that were sort of hands-off in the past. Why is it dangerous? It's another, we talk a lot about this, but we were just talking about the Cold War situation. You know, when Egypt starts lining up with Russia instead of the U.S., how many allies are we going to lose? How much leverage international are we going to lose? It's not a pretty situation.
He's a better chess player than Barack Obama, isn't he?
He's a better poker player than Barack Obama, for sure.
We'll take it from either poker or chess. Either way, he's got him knocked here. ISIS, horrible news. It came out today. The family of the young lady who was the hostage that they said was killed originally by a Syrian bomb. We don't know that for a fact, but they have now received confirmation that she's dead. And we've talked about this. There's really no reason to think at any time that ISIS will keep any hostage alive because, frankly, we don't know if she was killed a day ago, a week ago, a month ago. They make these videos. They pump them out there. These people can be dead, and they're just using it for nothing more than propaganda purposes.
Right. These are people who don't think the way the West does, certainly. And this woman, unfortunately, I think that she was obviously in a difficult situation. She was a hostage. There's no way around it. But I do think that whenever it was expedient for them, for her not to be alive anymore, that's when it would happen, when it can become a PR video. And my guess is that will be the next thing that we're going to see is a video of some kind. Because they're trying to blame it on Jordan, it's probably going to be her body and showing that, and with a lot of propaganda against Jordan. They did release another video yesterday which showed a British hostage supposedly in Aleppo, and he was saying, see how these bombing campaigns have not been successful at all. Look around. Well,
we hear they're running out of suicide bombers. That's one report I saw late today, which is actually pretty good news if you think about it.
If that's true, yeah.
If it is true, we don't know. But yeah, these are just despicable people, and you can't deal with them. Last thing here, and this was interesting. I do not think of the countries of China and Afghanistan in the same sentence. What's happening here?
In my opinion, this is another situation. China stayed away from Afghanistan really during all the problems, going back as far as the Soviet Union-U.S. situation. When the U.S. was in and NATO was in, the U.S. tried to get China involved. China would not get involved. Now the U.S. is pulling out. We're now seeing diplomatic initiatives. We're seeing conferences about security. China is very, very smart. Again, you look at this, what they did in Africa. They want raw materials. They want access to water. And if you look, they can go straight through Afghanistan. They really want the raw materials in Afghanistan. I think you're going to see China moving in, taking over, buying up swathes of territory, cozying up there. Again, the U.S. leaves, there's a vacuum. China steps in.
Should we look at China militarily, or should we just guess that all they really want to do at this point is just become money hungry?
Yes and yes.
Okay, really? There you go.
I think it's both sides here. Again, I don't think China does anything for one or the other. I think it is absolutely, they will use the money to continue to build their military, continue to establish control where they want, and to continue to keep the United States out of their area of influence, however they define that.
Welcome to the world. We bring attention to it every single day. Always a pleasure to have you on the show,
Good
Lisa.
to be here.
We'll continue to put a little fact in this from now on. All right. When the word Benghazi is used here in America, attention turns to an event that will remain a focal point for the presidential election. But when you think about Benghazi, what is life like in that city today? You're going to find out that and a whole lot more. Spanning the Globe is next as MidPoint continues.